What's going on, guys? Ben here, Enos Tech, and today we're taking a look at the Be Quiet SFX L power supply. Now this power supply is designed to be compact and silent, but still offer Be Quiet good quality. It features an 80+ gold rating, and as we can see here, it is also fully modular, which is a great thing to have, especially in a small form factor power supply, because this allows you to only use the cables you need, so you don't have extra cables hanging around. And then this way it also helps when it comes to installation, because then you can get the power supply, set it in, and you can route your cables and then plug them in last, instead of trying to just have the power supply in and having to route the cables up. This way you can kind of do it whichever way works best. Be Quiet have been kind enough to send us their 500-watt version, which is great. And again, these things do come in handy, especially for those with smaller cases. ITX builds are getting more and more popular, even though, funnily enough, a lot of ITX cases are getting bigger and bigger. The idea is still small form factor. So for those of you looking for a good quality PSU for a small build, Be Quiet may have the answer to your prayers. So why don't we go ahead, open up the box, and take a closer look at what's inside. Alright, let's get the box open here. Immediately we have our user manual, which also mentions that this power supply does come in a 600-watt model as well. So for those of you looking for a little bit more power, fear not, Be Quiet have you covered. Now, as we can see, everything is packaged up nice and neat in here. The first accessory, if you will, that we'll see is going to be our bracket to install the SFX PSU. So we go ahead and we'll take a look at that as well. We'll put that to the side for a minute and we'll come back to that. Next we have our power cable. We've got an EU power cable, but don't worry, if you buy your PSU in the UK or the US or wherever you may be, you will get the proper power cable for your power supply. We've also got our 4 screws here, so we can go ahead and screw this bad boy in. So I'm going to just set it to the side for a minute and we'll have a quick look at our cables. Now we've got our PCIe cable here, which, as you can see, this is the end that would connect to the power supply, and then we've got two 6+2 pin connectors here, so you could run two 8-pin powers to graphics cards. You could run a 6 and an 8, 2 6s, a 6 and 8, whatever your graphics card needs. This cable should have you covered. Put that to the side. We have our 8-pin EPS cable for the motherboard power. As you can see, this one is also 4+4. A lot of the old motherboards only have 4. Some of the new ones have 8. So Be Quiet have thought of everybody. And even if you're getting a new power supply for an older system, they want it to be compatible. So kudos to them for that. We've got another PCIe cable here for those of you that want to run SLI on lower powered graphics cards, especially if you have the 600-watt version of this PSU. You can get away with some SLI or crossfire configurations, so that's great. Again, they're both 6+2. So you can hook up with many different graphics cards. This is going to be our 24-pin cable, as you can see here, and it is a 20+4 pin. Again, older motherboards only had 20 pin, newer ones got 24 pin, pardon me. So boom, you've got 20+4, so it's compatible with a lot of them. And then, as you can see here, we've got the 16. Oh, what is it? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, yeah. It's 28-pin power connector to the motherboard to make sure it's getting plenty enough power to power up your little high-end systems there. Got a SATA cable here, which obviously it's got all these cables features the flat connector, as we've seen. Even this one has got the 5-pin this way to plug in, and it's got 3 SATA power cables on it. We've got another SATA power cable with they'll power up 3 more cables. We've got some smaller screws which we'll set to the side here, And then we have our Molex cables. There's 3 Molex cables on here, and again, it's that same power connector to the power supply that is like the SATA power. Setting the box to the side for a minute, we can get into a closer look at the power supply itself, which is nice and small. As you can see there, we've got the nice Be Quiet logo here on the front, for those of you that may end up having this on display in your system. Working our way around, on the back side of the power supply, we've got our power cord input and our on-off switch. I'm always a big fan of those. I know it sounds a bit silly, but anytime I'm disconnecting or reconnecting anything, I like to turn the power supply off. Just personal preference, and that's just how I like to do. Flipping our way around, on the side we can see kind of the embossed or indented little Be Quiet logo there. Flipping over to the other side, we have our Love It or Hate It sticker. Most of us probably can't stand it, but it has all the information about the power supply on it and its wattage and power ratings. Stuff such as DC output, 3.3, 5 and 12 volt rails, max current is 20 amps, max combined power, and all that type of stuff. And again, we can see it does have our 80 plus gold rating. We here at Enos Tech do not currently have a proper ATE load tester, but I did hook our multimeter up to it and ran it through some synthetic tests that I can do a few gaming scenarios and a few benchmark torture test type things. All the ratings for the 3.3, the 5 and the 12 volt line were all within their respected criteria, what they're allowed to be in. Now, of course, I can't test for things like ripple in the lines and stuff like that, so it's not 100% test, but I did what I could. And again, coming from Be Quiet, being 80 plus gold, I personally have no queries about whether or not this power supply is going to do what it's intended to do. Now, as we can see here on this side, this is where we plug all our fun cables in. Now, obviously, we've got our motherboard cables up here. On the side, we have our drive cables, which are going to be the SATA and the Molexes. And then down across the bottom here is where you will plug the PCIe cables in to power up your graphics cards and things like that. This thing really is small. I mean, as you can see, the palm of my hand pretty much covers it. I'm not a big man by any means or circumstances. So it's great. It will definitely come in handy for us in the future when we do a nice small build, when we get a nice ITX case in. But for those of you, again, that are into the ITX and the SFX, the small form factor type stuff, this offering from Be Quiet will be great. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give it our must-have award, just purely based on the size of it and the outputs it does have. Even though the power supply itself is small, it still has all the cables you would hope to see and will need from a power supply. As said, in the testing we can do, it was all within the respective criteria of what we would expect to see, and Be Quiet have just done a great job with this. So as always, big thanks to Be Quiet, big thanks to you guys for watching it. Make sure to check back in the near future for more videos, because we've got a lot more content coming your way. Thank you.